Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. Join me today as we go through yet another thrilling Halo Fleet Battles battle report. This time we have a wings only UNSC build versus a non-orthodox Covenant fleet. Let's dive into the action. So here is a little bit of context before we begin. My UNSC fleet has been on a bit of a winning streak lately in our local games. And so the Covenant resorted to some, let's say, unorthodox tactics for their fleet during this game. The Covenant player wanted to test out the idea of custom specialist groups, whereby you are still limited to 6 BR, but don't necessarily have to take a small element. In addition to this, we agreed to a 1k point game, but they went over slightly at 1040 points. This is all fine with me. With my UNSC fleet, I wanted to test the idea of a purely wings-focused list that is maximizing the number of wings I can take, as well as having an ample carrier actions to reinforce as needed. We will go through the fleets before we continue. Both sides had 4 battle groups. The UNSC commander was the generic wing commander, both to save points but also to make use of the synergistic abilities, +2 wing size and +1 carrier action whenever you carry action. The UNSC's first battle group was 1 Paris Arrowhead formation and 2 Eon carriers. The Eons are the cheapest ship as compared to hangar capacity and would play a big role in getting the hangar space needed. The second battle group was 1 Eon, 1 Halcyon and 1 Paris Arrowhead. The Halcyon was brought to fit into the point cap but still provide hangars. The UNSC then had 2 specialist groups, the first being the Chimera Battle Group. This is a set of 2 paired reinforced Halcyon frigates. The idea behind the list was to use the bombers to eliminate all the small elements, then mop up the larger ships with the max. The Chimera offered a mix of points efficiency as compared to hangars, plus decent offense. The final and most important element for the UNSC is the Orthos Battle Group. This is a pair set of Epoch carriers with 12 hangars between them, and the specialist ability to bring sabers for free, as well as having them only cost 1 hangar each. This would be the main defense for the bombers, plus not being too bad as bombers. In addition, this battle group can be fairly potent if allowed to get into range, with 20 Mach and 24 missiles between them. With all that, the UNSC had 29 hangars. I struggled to build a list of 1k points that exceeded this number, but if you find a way, send it through. All the wings are bombers except for the 12 free sabers, so 17 bombers total. The degenerate Covenant list was as follows. They took Ro Batami as their fleet commander. Their battle group were Battle Group 1, CPV Heavy Destroyer with SDV and ADP escorts. Battle Group 2, 1 RCS with SDV and ADP escorts. And now onto their custom specialist groups. Battle Group number 3 was 2 DSC support ships, and Battle Group 4 was 2 CCS ships. The Covenant were largely outmatched in the wings department, much to my plan's benefit, but given prior intelligence, the Coveys wisely brought only interceptors in their hangars. With that out of the way, I'll go through the turns and we'll see how we got on. We rolled Assault Mission, and before the game even started, this mission felt a little funky. It basically boils down to a straight destruction mission with a weird deployment. Defender can deploy anywhere on their side of the board, whereas attackers start off the board and must then deploy, touching their board edge. Myself and a third party discussed and said between ourselves, now wait a minute, if the defender just deploys on their line, isn't this just a regular kill mission with extra steps? And dang if I'm not Nostradamus, because that is exactly what happened. The Covenant were defenders and deployed on their line. Both sides' wings pushed forward in turn 1 in a straight line towards each other. UNSC were attackers and so had to go first. Not wanting to lose ships early, I deployed most of my ships at a 90 degree along the board edge to keep them out of range as much as possible, and then tried to use the planets that we had deployed to move my specialists up into range with cover. Both sides were generally out of range turn 1, so not much firing, and so on to turn 2. Turn 2. Covenant rolled first turn. They retreated with their wings, and with most of their elements out of range, the bombers could only set up for turn 3 runs. Now this is where we learn that maybe 2 DSC support ships probably shouldn't be together. The UNSC moved up their twin epochs behind the planet on the right, setting up for a turn 3 firing solution. The Covenant moved their DSC ships to counter and unleashed 28 torpedo shots all at once. This overwhelming amount of torpedoes overwhelmed and destroyed an epoch in a single salvo. One big hit for the UNSC side, to be sure. More fire across the board, and we moved on to turn 3. Now this is where the wings game begins. The Sabres, as expected, made easy work of all that faced them. One bomber group was engaged by interceptors, but actually managed to hold its own. The other 2 bombers moved in and decided the last remaining epoch needed support. So 2 wings of 5 bombers moved in and engaged a DSC to hopefully score some damage. The engaged DSC failed to roll any hits on point defense against the first wave of 5 bombers, and the second wave only took 2 shot down. The set of 5 bombers unleashed their attack and managed a huge roll, doing 2 damage to the DSC. The remaining 3 bombers rolled their attack and the DSC was destroyed. A big success for the UNSC Bomber Command. At this point, the back line of the UNSC was engaged and losing ships. One of the Chimera Halcyons had taken major damage. And on to turn 4. The Covenant were now in range, and although their smaller ships were going down left and right to bombing runs, the larger elements were able to swat away the pitiful human attacks. At the end of the turn, the UNSC had taken too many casualties, and the Covenant got to the required 20 points to win. Now, I'll go into my thoughts about the game. The Covenant being able to take custom specialists very much hindered the effectiveness of the bombers. Larger elements tend to fare better against bombers due to the combination of point defense and shields, and so smaller elements can be easier targets since they get smaller numbers of both. Had the Covenant had a traditional list, there probably would have been more small elements, and so the bombers would have been more successful. And with every small element destroyed, that hinders the Covenant's ability to do damage back. Another hurdle was wing building. Being able to go up to 7 bombers is great, thanks to the wing commander leader, but you will struggle to actually make formations that have 7 hangar space to take the full benefit of this. I was relying on my opponent to destroy enough of my first wave bombers that when I carrier action them back, I can get to the 7 bomber wings. This didn't happen, so I never got to deploy 7 bombers. I do think there needs to be some changes to wings to make a wings focus list viable. The game shouldn't punish people for not wanting to build traditional gun lines of MAC UNSC fleet. I think a wing focus commander for each side that tweaks wings and how they operate would be a cool addition to the game. And with that, that's the end of my video. This was only a short one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and all that good stuff to keep up with more Halo-related wargaming. Halo Flashpoint is an upcoming game that I will be excited in and probably making some video about. So keep tuned for that. Thanks. Goodbye.